We're back. Here we are. There we are. There
Don't
we go.
stream if there's no audio.
Well,
let's try to make that because it's
the new thing. It's called audio-less streaming. By the way, it's so nice and warm in here. It's you use your hands, Jimmy, so that's just as good as words.
That makes some noise. Is that what you're saying?
Make the noise.
All right.
The fireplace, man.
Everybody
I
likes
talk
it.
about it. Yeah, it's a big hit, especially today as we're doing this podcast. It's a very cold day outside, on about 22 degrees, 21 degrees or so. So it warms me up. It warms my heart, and it warms my soul.
All right, good. Can we just do the show? Can we just get going?
Just like that?
Yeah.
Are you antsy?
I'm antsy.
Okay, he's antsy. Hit it, Steve.
You're tuned in to Behind the Media. Dan Lothian and Jimmy Young bring 70 years of award-winning broadcast experience to the table. From newsrooms across the country, behind anchor desks and in the field, they've seen and covered it all. And now they are here to take you behind the media.
You're going to have to embrace technology. If you're an educator,
I'm embracing it.
I want you to use the phone to help teach these kids.
You don't need to do that. I was covering the president in China, and we did a behind-the-scenes video. This is a gong, or
no, not a gong, a bong.
A bong.
With a B.
That's right. Did I say
the
gong?
gong is a
That's
gong
right.
show.
I said gong.
Gong
Bong.
makes noise.
Bong.
Okay.
Why is it, Jimmy? Why?
Because sex sells, Dan.
True, but it's only part of the answer. It is. You have to be more creative now to be able to tell a story, and sometimes it's just a before and after picture and saying, which one do you want to be? Why did it take CBS News so long to put a woman in charge, now that there's a big mess to clean up?
Could a riveting and disturbing documentary on allegations surrounding R&B star R. Kelly bring him down?
The partial government shutdown is pinching a lot of wallets. How's the media doing covering this complex story?
And bites behind the media, including using your voice for search, an obsession with apples, and the multi-billion-dollar divorce of Amazon's Jeff Bezos.
Ding-a-ling-ling-ling-ling-ling-ling.
Well, hang on a second.
Your hunt for the best one-stop shopping for all things media has come to an end. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Away, thoughtful standards for modern travel. Away makes suitcases for the way we all travel, with features like an ejectable TSA-approved battery or a built-in front pocket. They come in a range of colors and materials that suit your travel style. For $20 off a suitcase, visit awaytravel.com and enter promo code CLNS. So, Jimmy, CBS recently announced that Susan Zirinsky would be taking over as the new president of CBS News.
Not to be confused with the CEO.
Not the guy Moonves who was running all of CBS.
Correct.
This is the news division.
Gotcha.
David Rhodes is the former president of the news division. But as you know, because of all of the stuff, whether it's Charlie Rose, whether it's Moonves, whether it's allegations of things other producers at 60 Minutes, CBS, somewhat like NBC as well. Like everybody,
right,
has been dealing with a lot of issues of sexual harassment and misconduct, and it has been certainly heavier, I think, over at CBS. And so now along comes Z, as those who know her call her, is a longtime veteran of CBS News, a 48 Hours original producer. She's also done other projects for CBS. So I think, when it comes to qualifications, this is one of the best folks out there, I think, to do it. But the question is, why did they have to wait for this time when there's a lot of stuff to clean up to bring Z on board to do this role? Not on board. She's already there.
I could make a sexist comment.
Oh, go ahead,
about
Jimmy.
How, a man needs a maid, according to Neil Young. Remember that song? You don't remember
No, I don't know that
I know
one.
that
No.
song.
But I did hear him sing one time, Neil Young.
Point being.
Oh, no, that was Neil Diamond.
Women.
Or was it Neil?
Okay, this is the Me Too movement.
Right.
We're right in the middle of it. It shouldn't have taken as long as it did. Those are the facts, not just in media corporations, though, Dan. Mm-hmm. If you look at the whole corporate structure of corporate America, a female in charge of a major corporation is still not so much a
novelty,
rare,
right?
It's more of a novelty,
right.
I agree.
Although it's much better than it used to be.
And I know I mentioned this on this show before that people who are applying for CEO jobs are finding there are more females in competition for those positions than ever before, and companies are looking to hire competent females.
But why is it whenever there's a scandal, and it's not just at CBS News, but other organizations as well, whenever there's a scandal of this nature, so sexual harassment, there's always a sense of, oh, well, we're gonna have a female investigate it, or we're going to elevate a female to run the operation. I would have felt much better if Susan Zirinsky had gotten this job prior to David Rhodes, right? When we didn't know, obviously, all of this garbage was going on behind the scenes, but publicly, we didn't know this was going on, and she would have gotten that promotion on the face of it. Just she's great at her job, and she's the best person for it. That doesn't take away anything from that, but I hate it that there's sort of this thing, this cloud that kind of floats over. It's like, oh, well, we have to do this now because certainly from a marketing perspective, from a recovery perspective of trying to clean things up and move forward and beyond some of the garbage that's been going on at CBS, it looks good.
Well, again, men behaving badly need women that are better reasoners and understand how to balance emotion better than men.
Oh, they
have more emotions. I think that's a fact.
I think you're right, but I think she's qualified to. In fact, I think she's more qualified than some of the people who've held that position, not only at that network, but other networks as well. I mean, she's been in the trenches. She knows how to motivate people. She's gone outside of news to do other things as well. So she understands. I was pointing out to you earlier that she also did the failed reality show that Britney Spears had there for a while. She was the executive producer of that.
Good, because you know what? You need to fail to learn from your mistakes.
Exactly.
Okay.
And she has internally, if you see all the tweets and the social media chatter that's been out there, there's been a lot of support for this choice as she was elevated and the announcement was made. Again, I'm falling back on this situation of certainly the news media. We cover these things all the time. We're covering, we're pointing at companies and saying, you screwed up, you did this, sexual harassment, you need to do this, you need to do that. But the same mistakes are happening internally at news organizations, number one, and the same crazy moves that are being made in the business world are being made in news or in media as well. And that's what disappoints me.
How about the fact that the New York Times has not had a single female leader in its 167-year history?
What do you mean? But what's her name was? There was someone at the New York Times, one of the executive editors.
And again, I don't know if female lead. I'm reading off this. Right. The Washington Post and Wall Street Journal are at 0. Excuse me. The Times had single female.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. Single.
Read much, Jimmy?
Right.
No, actually,
I'm like,
I don't.
Wait a minute, Jimmy.
Yeah,
yes.
I think you do.
Yes.
Okay,
it's a former executive editor of the New York Times.
I needed some editing there.
Right.
Maybe we could do that in post-production. Probably not on the live
So
feed.
1 at the New York Times, 0 at the Washington Post.
0 at Wall Street Journal, and television is no better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. By the way,
how many news directors did you work for
who were
female?
So I can think of one.
Okay. Out of how many?
Candy Altman. And she was at Channel 5 in Boston.
Yep.
It was Bob Jordan down in West Palm Beach. It was Terry Heaton and in my first job at WDEF in Chattanooga. It was, did I say Bob Jordan out in King TV? It was oh my goodness, I'm forgetting that. Another guy in West Palm Beach.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of, but I'll tell you what, though, the next layer back, so assistant news directors and executive producers a lot of them have predominantly been female, which is kind of interesting. You bring up a good point in that we don't have them at the very top, or we haven't in the past had them at sort of the top jobs. Yet they're definitely qualified and should be getting those top jobs because they're running the show.
Right.
They're doing all the hard work.
Exactly. And who's hiring those in that position the board of directors of the ownership group of the station, right?
Well, I mean, for news, it all depends. I mean, it depends if you're a large, if you're owned by multiple, like multiple stations owned by one big organization. I'm sure there's more stuff from the top that comes down, but I think it's the general manager that's usually a male that hires the news director. So it's more at the local level, but it's the general manager at the station.
Exactly right. So, and most of those general managers are also male.
They're male.
Okay, and this is it's a perfect storm to set up for power. Power, as you know, is a very dangerous thing to have.
No, it is, unless you have it.
Unless you have it and can
then it's a wonderful thing, and you can control it.
And you can control it.
Exactly.
Which, the human nature is such that it's never enough. You're driven and you're driven and you're driven, and it's just never enough. You can't be satisfied, right? Because, our profits margin were 22%
but
last
we want
year.
It better
we want 28% this year, because, you got to win.
But what you're getting at, though, is that when you have these people in power who happen to be male, then
they're more comfortable with their own.
Exactly. And that's a flaw. That's a major flaw. And I can't speak for other industries because I don't know what the layers of management teams look like. I'm sure there are a lot of females in there. But I'll tell you that you take a step back down from news director and pretty much, and I haven't gone and looked at the numbers exactly, but it has to be over 75% of the next level of folks will be female.
Yeah.
All those producers.
So again, another example of powerful men controlling the opposite gender in their position growth, their growth in their positions, in their own businesses.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
And and it's good that the media is finally looking at itself.
Yes, I think it's good. Now, I will say that I don't want people to listen to this podcast and say, "Oh, Dan, so what are you criticizing?" Zirinsky. I'm not doing that. I am so proud. I told you, I know her.
Right.
I've been in her home. We both went to American University, so we've been involved in the Alumni Association there.
Dan, what were you doing in her home?
Well,
I gotta ask.
She's a married woman. She had an event.
Okay. Oh, she had an event at her home.
No, she had an event.
Okay.
Yeah. What are you doing?
You were a work comrade.
What were you saying? I broke in?
No, I didn't know what was going on when you were in her home.
Yeah, you're thinking. Yeah, I was in New York and I was in a very nice place. What was it? It was an event. It was like, we had a bunch of people together. It was a party.
It was a work party.
I didn't work with her.
Okay.
No, it was a party.
Okay.
I mean, we're connected through the Alumni Association.
And you're proud of her.
So we've done things together around that.
Good.
I've been very proud of her.
Did you text her to congratulate her?
I did not. No, so here's the thing. I was going to text her, but I realized that all her information was in a phone that I used to have that I no longer have and never transferred. So I don't have her direct. So if you're listening, Susan Zirinsky, reach out to me. But as if she has time for that. But no, I say that I just in transparency. That's the connection I do have to her. But I think she is not only, qualified to this job, but probably the most qualified person to pull off a recovery at CBS News. The only thing is that I'm bothered by the fact that as an organization, they have to wait until, the whole place is burning down around sexual harassment to install someone like that. And that's what, I wish she could have gotten that job any other time.
20 years ago.
Exactly.
She was qualified in your idea and your opinion.
She was qualified a long time ago.
Interesting.
But she would have never gotten that job, except for the fact of what has happened. And that's the unfortunate nature of what has happened here. Yeah,
well, again, when all male leadership is involved, you're going to get blinded by a lot of things, and this is one of them. It's interesting that 75% of experts quoted in digital news accounts are male. That's a British analysis. In America, more than 70% of Sunday morning politics and policy talk shows are male. Yeah. One study of English language news sites globally found that 77%, those mentioned in those articles, are men. So women are routinely marginalized and symbolically annihilated in the news. That's a quote in this. And it took the Bill Cosbys and Harvey Weinsteins and Matt Lauers to expose this problem in media. You and I have talked about this. When you're in television or radio, you're a public figure.
Yeah.
And you are reporting the news. You are providing a service to your audience by giving them information that they can use.
Right.
Okay. And the whole idea is to generate as many eyeballs and as many following as possible. So
That is correct.
So you have
It's all
to be
about ratings and clicks.
you have to be a people person when you're out there in the public, ideally,
Right.
so that you like everybody and everybody can like you.
Yes.
That is against human nature, of course.
What do you mean?
In other words, I was well suited for that.
Yes.
You would be not, because you don't like that.
Well, I fake it. I
that's
fake that
fair
I like
enough.
it. That's how I've made it in the
and
business.
you're better off faking and acting in the real world than
Yes.
you would be on camera, because you would be doing a disservice as a
Well,
professional.
unless you're on like a morning talk show and you can kind of just be happy and do the happy stuff. And if people like you, then it works. I mean, actors are acting, are they not?
Yes, they
Some
are.
of them are very mean.
That's right.
And
And
don't
you-
like people.
Right.
And the fans love them.
Right.
So there's that element to it. But,
I used to say you there are a lot of times, and in sports you see this a lot, where you will cheer the professional but you will boo the person.
yes. That sometimes they're hard to separate.
Yes, it is. Oh,
But-
no.
but-
Especially, by the way, I'm going to go back to sports, especially in sports, when an event happens in sport, a touchdown, a home run.
Right.
The natural mob reaction is applause.
Right.
Or
boo.
Or it's one emotion or the other emotion.
yes.
It's very rarely, it's like, yeah, whatever.
Now, look, I don't like ending on a negative note here. So I want to bring it up a little positive. What is good to see is that when and some may have argued at the time that it took that for something like this to happen. But you look at the Today Show, and they have the
dual female anchors.
Exactly, and that was the first time that had been done, I believe, in the history of the Today Show. So it's great. Hoda Kotb and Savannah Guthrie, two acquaintances. I guess one of them is a friend. And I'm so proud that they made that move, and the ratings have not suffered. It shows.
But didn't they do that because of Matt Lauer's bad behavior?
No, I did. And again, that's the unfortunate thing, that it took these. But maybe there's always good to the bad, right? Mm-hmm. And as you pointed out, if it wasn't for some of these things, then we'd still be decades behind in putting women in some of these areas of leadership. So while I don't like the timing of how it all comes down, I'm happy that at least something has happened that has changed what we see now on television, or who's running the show.
Right. Did you see the Rockefeller Foundation study? When a company is in crisis, 80% of news reports will blame a female CEO. But if a CEO is a man, only a minority of news reports will blame him.
Which brings up a point that I also read about with Susan Zirinsky over at CBS News, is that, is there going to be a lot more scrutiny and pressure on her, right, than maybe on some of the male,
100%.
right?
And
they're going to expect her to do, move mountains and, part waters. So she comes into this with probably a lot more riding on not only the network itself, but on her and as a female. And that's unfortunate. But at least, again, the positive thing is that even if it was forced change is good.
Change is good. We like that, and we respect that, and our resumes will be in the mail. No.
and if you also respect that and like that, let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And write out your questions to info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. An explosive documentary series of the Lifetime on the Lifetime channel is turning up the heat on R&B superstar R. Kelly. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And listen on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Away. Thoughtful standards for modern travel. Away makes suitcases for the way we all travel, with features like an ejectable TSA-approved battery or a built-in front pocket. They come in a range of colors and materials that suit your travel style. For $20 off a suitcase, visit awaytravel.com and enter promo code CLNS. So, Jimmy, did you watch any of these installments?
I'll admit, not only did I not watch it.
Yes.
Okay.
You didn't know about it.
I've never heard of R. Kelly.
Oh,
I swear
Jimmy,
to God.
Oh,
I know I'm painfully on him.
We have to just end this podcast right now. Okay.
Would I recognize his rhythm and blues? Would I recognize any? I saw some of his lyrics. I wasn't thrilled with them.
Oh, my good. Okay. I'm going to vomit here if I'm going to pot up right now the resident millennial and Steven and ask him if he knows who R. Kelly is. Have you ever heard of R. Kelly?
Yes.
Oh, thank God. Okay, stop there. That's good. That's good. Okay, now I don't have to vomit because I would have just, I couldn't believe that I would be the only person in this studio who has heard of R. Kelly. This guy is huge, Jimmy. He is huge.
Do you know the name of every athlete in every sport, Dan?
I know the name. I can recognize the any superstar in sports.
Well, what about the stars? Is R. Kelly considered a superstar?
Yes, because not only has he had hits of his own, he has written most of the hits for everybody from Whitney Houston.
Oh,
her
I've heard of.
Lady Gaga. He has done things
she
with
was in a movie.
What's Dr. Dre? He's done work. He's worked with. There isn't a superstar, an A-lister out there in music who hasn't collaborated in some fashion with R. Kelly. That's how big he is.
Okay,
and now he also,
wait, hang on. We've established he's in a powerful role and has powerful influence over people.
Right. Now,
his followers.
Or people who don't follow him, just people who just enjoy music.
Yeah,
right?
I enjoy music,
right.
just for the record.
Right.
I'm just painfully unhip. I get it.
But I don't understand
by the way,
how
I do like rhythm and blues.
I mean, if I even know, like, I don't listen to country music, Jimmy, but I know, but I could tell you any big names country music star out there, I've probably heard of them.
Yeah, I haven't.
Unless it's a new person.
I hate country music, too.
My wife and my kid loves country music, so God. That's kind of cheating because I hear that stuff on the side.
I admit I am unhip. I do enjoy live music.
This one takes you down, at least in the black community. You are now, you've fallen off any kind of grain of potential hipness.
Expose me to him. Show me. Let me listen to some of his
stuff. I don't
stuff.
want to expose you to him now. No, of course not.
Especially not based on this story because because of his power, he's exerting some of it. Let's just say.
Here's the thing. This isn't anything new. For much of the time that I've known about R. Kelly, there's always been some report of something weird going on with R. Kelly and young girls. It has been out there. There have been allegations around him. There have been settlements that have occurred. There have been.
You mean men actually have some kind of an affair or some kind of sexual relationship, and there's actually money involved to keep her quiet?
Yes,
I am shocked to hear that.
There are. That does happen in society.
Yes, it does.
And so not only
which
that,
exhibit should we use?
Exactly. Yeah, they are. Let me count the ways.
That's right.
So
we laugh, by the way, only because there's been so many,
it's
sad. Right. I want to make sure we're not laughing at the actual.
No, exactly. So there have been allegations around it, and really weird stuff like brainwashing young ladies who fell under his spell and were never returned to their families again. All of these things have been alleged. He has denied. There have been secret settlements. He has denied any of these kinds of allegations. His lawyers come out and deny them. But what makes this unique is that this documentary series on the Lifetime channel, multiple parts, where they went through every single one of these things and stitched it all together.
The complaints.
Yeah, complaints. They had interviews with key players and all this. That's the interesting thing. So, when you look at something in its totality, it can seem more damning than if you just, something happened this year, something happened 5 years later. And when you see it all, it was pretty troubling stuff.
Because it's one thing after another and
exactly.
It's been going on for years, which is, you're kind of reinforcing and repeating bad behavior, but that's what happens sometimes.
Right. No, and so now there's word that because this documentary has essentially put all of this stuff together in a visceral way, that there are that prosecutors are now sniffing around it.
Well, hang on a second. I think the story is that the producers of the documentary have been threatened to not distribute it.
Right. No. That was prior. So before they actually went with the documentary already aired.
Okay.
And so prior to that, there are allegations that his manager, I believe, was putting pressure on the producers of this documentary series
to drop
it because we're gonna come after you and your family, kind of stuff.
Right.
And apparently, at one point, the producer had this person on a speakerphone with a cop in the room and so forth. But prosecutors prosecutors in Georgia apparently have reached out to a lawyer who's representing one of the couples who was on the documentary series. Their daughter apparently hasn't spoken to them for quite some time, and they believe that she fell under his spell and so forth. And so the prosecutors aren't talking, but this lawyer is saying the prosecutors have reached out to him. So the clue in that is that there's this, it's all been put together, and it's now so many people are talking about it that someone's going to have to do something about it. Now the issue is this, and this is where it gets a little dicey. Why hasn't this happened? Why hasn't this superstar been taken down before? There've been so many allegations for so long. Others have fallen. He has not. Why? And I'll have an answer for you, but go ahead, Jimmy.
My feeling is that, and we just kind of outlined it in our last podcast about the gender makeup of media still tends to skew male. Mm-hmm. And I think that in general, men have to do a better job of calling out other men when they are acting badly. Now, if that means that it costs you your job or your livelihood, that is a very difficult thing to do.
Right.
If you're working for somebody that you know is at least stretching the law, if not bending it and breaking it,
right.
Okay?
And you do something.
And you see that they're acting poorly towards the other sex, and you call them out on it, and that costs you your job, mm-hmm. That's where the power is. And that's kind of where this is. It kind of looks like it's happened here.
Right. Although I will say there's one other layer to this that's different, because the Harvey Weinsteins of the world have been called out eventually.
Bill
Cosby. Yep. And all of these have now been, you could say there's justice now for these victims. The difference, and I think what people are arguing, and certainly Karen Attiah, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. She's a Washington Post global opinion writer. And she makes this suggestion that the reason that R. Kelly has been getting away with this for so long is because his alleged victims are black women. And that no one is raising us. If had it been even one white young girl, prosecutors would have been all over the case. So she's suggesting that. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is that many in the black community have essentially been protecting him. They still go to his shows, and they say, oh, it's just,
one thing. One thing happened in 10 years.
Right. Or it's the system trying to keep a man down who's making a living. And so those two things, race seems to be playing a role in not only protecting him against these allegations, but inoculating him, from prosecution, because it's, who's out there protesting. Now there are protests out there, but it took a documentary really to kind of
expose it and show it and tell that story.
And again, his lawyer is saying,
I'm not surprised that race is involved.
Race is always involved in everything,
involved.
Right? And again,
correct.
his lawyer and R. Kelly have denied any of these things, so I should put that out there. Now, I do want to say this, Jimmy, just to kind of reel back to the fact that you didn't even know who R. Kelly was. I'm gonna.
You're not gonna give up on that.
No. So you will.
I'm gonna
remember
download
this song.
some of his music.
Okay,
now, all right?
I'm gonna give you this one.
Okay.
You know that you know this song. It's from 1997.
Okay, it's close to my era.
I Believe I Can Fly. I believe I can fly.
Oh, sure.
I believe I can touch the sky.
Oh, yeah.
That's his song.
Oh, that's a nice song.
That's become like an anthem.
Yeah.
So you knew his music.
Did Whitney Houston sing that?
Yeah. I don't know if she did. She may have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that.
But he was the one who penned
the words.
Well, he actually sang that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
the original that was R. Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And then R. Kelly also he did this series.
Can I ask you a question about this guy?
Yeah.
Since you seem to know him.
Well, I don't know him.
But
I've
you
never
know
met
of
R.
him.
Kelly.
Know of him?
Yeah.
What's the R stand for?
I think it's Robert.
Okay.
But I may be wrong.
What's the problem with what's the matter with calling him Robert or Rob or Bob?
I know someone's probably going to fact check me, and I don't know that it's Robert. I think it is. I thought I heard somewhere. I've always, it's just R. Kelly. The same way people call me D. Lothian or D-Lo. They used to.
Did they really?
Well, they used to.
When you were cool.
But when I was cool. Yeah, back in the day,
Which, by the way, never have I had that issue. I just want to say.
Back in the day, D-Lo, it was low. At one point, it was low.
Just low.
Right? It was low. Hey, Lo, how's it going?
Hey, Lo.
Then it became D-Lo.
D-Lo.
Yeah. Then it came Bubba Bean.
Bubba Bean.
Bubba Bean. I had a band, and it was Bubba Bean and the Machine.
Wait a second.
Yes.
You had a band?
Yes.
I'm finding out all this new stuff about
just
Dan.
Put a microphone in front of me, and you'll learn a lot of stuff.
Well, give me you gave me a little bit there.
What?
I believe I can fly.
Oh, I'm not going to sing anything more than that.
Damn.
I can't really sing. People who know.
So what were you doing in the band besides announcing that they were on stage?
No, what? No. I played keyboard and trumpet in the band.
Oh man, you've got musical talent.
Of course.
Wow.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Well,
I didn't know that. I mean,
yes.
We work with somebody next door.
Yeah,
it's not like I walk around, I don't hear you practicing.
I don't practice anymore. But I used to play with the Cooper brothers, both of whom went on and still play professionally. One is an incredible saxophone player. They were on The Tonight Show one time. Mm-hmm. His brother was an amazing keyboardist. Another guy named Danny Rose, who was the drummer.
For Jay Giles?
No. Well, I don't know what Danny Rose. I haven't played with him since college days.
Danny Rose.
He has red hair?
I don't know. Maybe.
Could be.
I'm not, like I said.
I don't know. I haven't talked to him in years.
My music taste, 1974.
Yes.
It's kind of where I live anyway. I live in the past, folks. It's just
that's the address.
That is it.
But here, look, the reason why this is an important story is that sometimes we do news stories, documentaries are done, and oftentimes it's just for entertainment purposes, for information purposes, to tell people about something.
To let people who have no clue who he is.
Exactly.
Right,
but every so often, the stories that you do, the documentaries that are put together can bring things to light that can lead to change. And
or prosecution.
Or prosecution. And again, these are all allegations at this point, but it is, a lot of people have been saying this had to be done. Everyone's known a lot of stuff.
So wait, for you again, it wasn't one incident.
Oh no, it's
been a number of incidents. So we have a pattern here.
According to this documentary, there are a number of different situations. Young women, people, they spoke to some of them. They heard about, they were told about others. They stitched together a pretty convincing case. Now we'll see if that's more just, what shows up in video is not what works in court. And in fact, I think his lawyer, at least another critic, said, it's a shame when prosecutors are thinking about making decisions based on what they saw on TV. And that's true. You can't just look at something and say, oh, well, he's guilty. But at the same time, it is something that once you see it, you go, there may be something there. Now we should go and find the evidence. And it sounds as if, at least based on this publication, that's what's going on.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let us know if you like this episode. On Facebook, you can like us. You can share our podcast. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And drop us a line at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. It's halftime, and the bell and halftime, and it's always great when we have halftime and a flame in our fire in our studio here to keep us nice and warm, especially
it's cold outside.
Since it's cool. Baby, it's cold out. Oh, no, that's a controversial song. We can't sing that.
No, don't do that. That's right.
That's right. We can't do that.
I heard that song the other day, and I was like, we talked about that song.
Exactly. So, Jimmy, you just finished traveling to a warm weather place.
Yes,
what suitcase did you use?
I'm not going to name the name because it's a competitor of Away.
Did you use a suitcase?
Yes, I did.
Did it hold up?
Well, it needs to be replaced. Let me just say, the zipper's all screwed up. There's a rip in it. Okay? It's time to get Away luggage.
That's right. And did you have to use tape, any kind of duct tape or anything to hold it together, or did it manage?
It managed without the duct tape.
But you need help. You need to get away.
I need to get away more often.
And
I need to get
Away. Today's episode is powered by Away, thoughtful standards for modern travel. Away makes suitcases that Jimmy is trying to get his hands on for the way we all actually travel, with features like an ejectable TSA-approved battery or a built-in front pocket, and they, of course, come in a range of colors and materials that will match your outfits. Away suitcases are also made from lightweight, durable German polycarbonate or aluminum alloy, so don't have to worry about heavy weight there. The interior compression system lets you pack more in less space. They come with those 360-degree spinner wheels, which I've told you, man, I love those things.
I got those.
Oh, those are good. They
got those.
guarantee a smooth ride, especially when you're going through the aisle of an airplane.
Have you ever been to the Miami airport? How many times, Dan?
I've lived at the Miami airport.
That is the worst designed airport
it is, yes.
I've ever been in.
It's all over the place.
Oh, my goodness
Yes,
gracious. And
yeah.
when you're traveling with an 87-year-old gentleman.
That's tough.
It was tough.
And by the way, when you go to the only place that I believe, I may be wrong, maybe one other time, the only place that I've missed a flight was at the Miami airport because I checked in 45 minutes before my flight, but you had to be there, like from that point, I think you had to be, no, I checked in a half hour before my flight, but you had to be there 45 minutes because it was so far from checking in to get to the actual gate. So they had this cutoff, at least it was American Airlines at the time, and I missed my flight, even though I was there with plenty of time to get to the flight.
Oh, that would make me really mad.
Yes. I can't remember. I was coming back from the Dominican Republic. I'd gone down on Con Air. It was a story we were doing, and I went down. There is such a thing as Con Air.
I remember. I've seen the movie 20 times.
I went down with a bunch of illegal criminals
ex-cons.
who were being kicked out of the country
Whoa.
and sent back to the Dominican Republic. They were all shackled when we got on the plane.
Wow.
But I didn't realize that once you go airborne, the FAA does not allow for people to fly shackled. I didn't know that.
Okay.
So they unshackled everybody. So there I was.
Wow.
with unshackled criminals on a plane headed back to the Dominican
very
Republic.
happy that they were going back to the Dominican.
Exactly.
I just want to say.
Exactly. But on the way back, I got to sit in the cockpit as we were landing at that airport. So it was beautiful.
Okay.
Anyway, we're talking about suitcases here and the TSA. If you're going through the TSA, who by the way, are working without a paycheck. Unbelievable. But it will make it much easier for them to open the combination lock on your away suitcases. And there's also a washable, removable laundry bag. So for $20 off a suitcase, visit awaytravel.com and enter promo code CLNS.
Oops, that was an error.
All you had to do was just pick it up and ring the bell, right?
I have problems with my hands.
Okay.
You know that.
Okay. The partial government shutdown is causing havoc for a lot of families and further dividing an already divided government. How's the media handling this story? Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Away, thoughtful standards for modern travel. Away makes suitcases for the way we all travel. For $20 off a suitcase, visit awaytravel.com and enter promo code CLNS. So there have been so many stories out there about...
There are 800,000 federal workers not working.
Exactly. A lot of people out of work. And
now, who caused this?
Your friend, President Trump.
Could it have something to do with the POTUS man?
Yes. And he says on his
going
Twitter
home
feed.
It's my ball. I'm going home with it. Okay? Because that's the way it is at the playground at age 6. Because that's his mentality. Okay? I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Deal with it.
It's amazing how he gets so worked up.
Oh, I've been waiting for this story because
now there's a lot of color. Now it looks like you were down in warm weather country.
Yes, that's right.
All you got to do is mention the president's name, and Jimmy gets a tan.
The blood pressure goes right to my head.
Forget those tanning machines. Just say Trump, and he goes up.
Yeah, well.
But the story's less about Trump and more about how this is being covered by the media. And on the one hand, you have those conservative media that will say they'll find people out there who are not getting paid and are saying, you go for it, Mr. President. Although I saw in one case it ended up being like a bot. It was fake. It was something. It wasn't real.
There's nothing. The only thing that's real is that he's human, and I'm not even sure he is. And according to Nancy Pelosi, delusional. Now, by the way, can we do a research? Can somebody do research, please, on how many times President Trump has been described as delusional? Just that word.
Send all correspondence to
I want
Jimmy.
To know. I really want to know, because I think that fits perfectly.
Anywho, the way that it's being covered by traditional media is the conversation I think that we want to have.
Okay,
here
I know that's the one you want me to have.
Well, no,
I want to destroy
after all,
this
it is
guy.
about the media.
Sorry.
But even
Yes.
though it's politics,
Yes.
obviously that's part of it. But I'm wondering, the kinds of stories that you've been seeing out there. Do you think they've been fair? And do you think that by and large they've done a good job of telling us how difficult it is for families, or is it just kind of a mishmash of coverage? What's your sense from what you've seen or heard?
Well, when you're denied a paycheck and you've got 800,000 people out there, it makes it a little easy for the media to actually find someone to talk to about this.
Right.
I have yet to see a federal worker who's missed their paycheck go on camera. Now, I've watched a few of the different shows and go on camera and actually say, nope, you know what? I support what he's doing.
Right.
Now,
the president says that there are people like that.
Oh,
who reached out to
100%.
him, but we
100% on social media. Because if you get a comment. Now, Dan, how many times have you been in the business where one email about one story you've done has brought you into the news director's office?
Oh, yeah, that can happen.
One email. So
it was a letter back in the day.
Okay, a letter.
It was on stone.
I
They
forgot
threw a
about
stone through a window with something written on the stone.
Those were the days.
Yes.
Yes.
And they were driving a car that had stone wheels.
Don't you
which,
think
by the way, is a nice little.
Don't you think we need to teach how to write in our schools again?
Oh, no, nobody's writing.
Nobody's writing,
No,
right?
No.
So
No.
how do you?
They're only wronging.
What happens with a letter? If our millennial over here had to send a letter to
What would you
someone,
do, Stephen?
Does he know how to address an envelope?
Do you know how to write a letter?
Yes.
Oh, that was a delayed reaction.
When was the last time that you sent out a letter?
Or even a card?
Oh.
3, maybe 4 years ago.
Oh, my God.
I still write a lot of letters to people, thank you notes and so forth. I love the art of just writing. It's a lot of
handwritten.
fun.
And by the way, when I work with young people and give them some advice about how to get hired in this business, I say, you'll be amazed at how much of an impact a handwritten note will have on the person who's receiving that.
If 10 people come in to look for a job in front of me and one of them writes me a nice little handwritten note
that you can read, by the way.
Well, that I can read. And that they're probably, all things being equal, I would hire that person.
Yeah.
I would. Anyway, so the way that this story has been covered, I think it's quite fascinating. So what I liked, I believe it was USA Today, and what they did was they divided it up. It was snapshots of people around the country and how this is impacting them. And it was amazing. It was very simple in the way that they laid it out. It basically was like name, hometown, may have had their age, I believe.
Yep.
And, where they work.
Yep.
And then it just puts a quick little synopsis of what they're going through.
Right.
And it really brought it home, to
Did
me.
it disgust you as much as it disgusted me?
Yeah,
that
it did.
politics. Think about it.
Yeah.
This is politics. This is POTUS against the Democrats.
Yeah.
This is media against POTUS. It's
Well,
the nature
I don't
of
know media against POTUS.
Well, again,
Yeah.
I think
that's what you said.
that.
but I don't
No,
think-
that's what he says.
Well, that's what he says.
Okay.
But so you're buying into it now.
Well, I definitely see that he is the person who is the antagonist in this.
Right. But you can't officially say the media is against him.
No, I can't officially say that.
Oh, you can?
No, I can't.
Oh, okay.
Only the
I mean,
educated
his
media.
people say
Only
that.
the educated media.
But I thought it was, the stories that they told of people.
The trickle-down effect.
The trickle-down effect. It's amazing, and it really brings it home. And I also, not only in print, but also I was listening on the radio and NPR, and they have this interesting. Again, it was a whole trickle-down effect, and that's what I appreciate, because a lot of times when we hear about something like this in the government shutdown, if you're not a government worker, a federal government worker, you're like, it doesn't impact me. You feel sorry for them, but it doesn't really bring it home. There are so many different things, industries that are connected to the federal government, whether it's
a big business.
There is one case that was highlighted where someone was, they have a daycare center that's inside a federal building. So it's a private individual who owns a private daycare center for the federal workers' kids in a federal building that has been shut down. Yet this person has to, they're not getting a break on the rent that they're paying or any expenses that they have on that building, or they still have to pay their workers who aren't working, yet they're not getting paid and people aren't coming there. And I'm not sure how you make that money back, because if your kid didn't go, unless they pay on a monthly basis, I'm not sure how it's structured. That's going to be tough for them to recoup that money, and given the losses that they're encountering here.
And it also, as you read these stories about a park ranger, a forestry employee, someone who's in the administrative roles in whatever federal, it exposes the fact that we as a society do not save money.
Oh my goodness!
So many people,
so right.
So many people,
right,
are not prepared for this.
No,
and how do you deal with it? I mean, I heard some of them moving in with parents. I saw an interview on the Today Show of a woman who's trying to close on a house. Yeah. Well, now she has no proof of income.
Right,
so
right.
That's not going to be a great, a little bit more of a high risk on that loan.
Oh, and this one that I heard about, this was incredible. So there is this woman who her and her husband have been separated but living under the same roof for quite a while now. They have 2 kids.
Yep.
They've been working towards their divorce. He is an air traffic controller. And apparently either today or tomorrow, it was supposed to be it. They had done everything. It was going to be done. They were refinancing the house so she could now take over, whatever the ownership. They were restructuring everything. It was all supposed to happen this week so that they could go their ways. He could get a new place. He was moving out. Now, she's not kicking him out because he doesn't even have a job right now. I mean, he's not getting paid. He has a job. He's not getting paid. It has complicated the whole thing. And she goes, yeah, we have been living separate lives under the same roof for a long time. But at some point, it's time to move on. And this is the way she described it. She said, and these stories have just been incredible. She said, it's as if you're in a race and you're almost over the finish line, but right about the time that you get there, someone moved the finish line.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And you don't have.
There's no finish.
There's no energy or no capacity to even crawl to the new finish line. And as she said, we don't even know where the finish line is.
Right.
And these are the kinds of stories. I think reporters have done a good job of sort of laying things out, showing the economic impact, the secondary impacts of, real estate agents. So if somebody is a federal worker and they wanted to go buy a house and all of a sudden they're pulling, why would you buy a house now? And in the climate that it currently is, now you pull back. Well, that impacts someone who may not be a federal worker. These are all great stories as opposed to just covering the nuts and bolts of the shutdown, which is certainly important.
Right.
But
and
telling
politics.
Human stories, I think, is what really makes this relatable.
Yeah, and there's that trickle-down effect. 800,000 unemployed federal employees are out there. So how many of those 800,000, they're babysitters, they're child care,
right.
They're, some of these people have medical issues,
right.
And they've now lost their health insurance.
And I should point out, they're not unemployed. They're just not getting paid.
Right.
So, because, the
so
TSA folks,
TSA, and
they're showing up.
And they will have the opportunity to get back pay.
They will get back pay, but you need money right now.
Right.
So back pay ain't helping you in the present.
No, you would think that with all the haves and the have-nots, the haves, the peoples like the POTUS and Mr. Bezos, who has his own issues.
Yes, he does.
Bill Gates, all these people, they are philanthropic. There is motivation for them to be philanthropic. But here is a great example of a black hole that something happened and it affects so many people. They could make an impact of some kind by making, low interest personal loans available in hardship cases.
Yeah, but that's going to
take
that
too
takes
long.
Too much time, and hopefully the government's it's open way before that happens. Look, there's a quick fix to all of this. To get the 2 babies who are sitting in high chairs around the table to put down their binkies and take off their little drip things around their neck and eat the spinach and the broccoli. That's what needs to happen, because there really are babies on both sides here. And I'm calling them out, both Democrats and Republicans. I think that, any time that a government shutdown, that people are being held hostage, everyday people who have nothing to do with anything
Are the ones
are
who get
not getting a paycheck because babies are arguing around the dinner table. That's wrong.
Right.
And-
So, and I know you threw my Democrats under the bus.
Yes,
there for
I
a
did.
minute, okay.
Yes, I did. And I
They're the
rolled
ones
over
who are
them and
looking
backed up.
and they're the ones who are looking to shut this down and continue to negotiate. Now, this is what really makes me mad about politics, and I'm seeing it more and more and more because I'm getting more and more active in a few causes, if you will. They tend to throw. You have one bill that says if we pass this, X will happen.
Right.
But in order to pass it, to make X happen, I want this little thing over
but
here.
That's how it's always been.
Well, that's what sucks.
Yeah, but
I'm
it's the
sorry, I
system
don't
we
like
have.
using that word. But
No, you like using that
I
word.
don't like the two-party system. I've told you
Yes,
that.
you're correct.
There's
You
too
have said
much
that.
money involved.
There is.
It's money. It's the people that have money and the people that don't have money. And now you've put out a whole bunch of people who, if they had money, they had jobs, they've taken that away.
That's true.
And
No,
it's
you're right.
politics that
Preach
did
it,
it.
brother.
And that's what's screwed up this country.
I
so
always
much.
like
You
it
know
how-
what? Yeah, America's great. And a great embarrassment is what this country has become.
Well, it's still better than Russia. I'll tell you that. It's America is
Yes,
still.
it is.
I'm still proud to call myself an American, even though I realize I'm an American sitting at a table with a bunch of babies.
And as long as you give me a
And they're
microphone
pinkies.
that's going to be recorded, whatever my thoughts are, I'm
Yes.
going to put them out there. I
and,
don't
and
care.
You know what, Jimmy?
I don't care.
I'm fascinated by how you always, towards the end of our podcast, you always end up becoming a preacher, a minister.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
this is
it's
it.
amazing.
It's
a
part of my-
Pentecostal,
it's
a
part of my-
Pentecostal, not just any old minister, because not like a Lutheran, whispering,
Or even
on
a
Sunday
rabbi.
morning, or even a rabbi kind of thing. Not that.
No,
where
just
you're-
a person who preaches.
you throw it
the
down.
world according to Jimmy.
You throw it down
Yes,
like
I
a
do.
Pentecostal preacher in the hood.
Hallelujah.
If you like this episode, let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And also drop us a line at info@littleparkmedia.com. That's info@littleparkmedia.com.
Amen. All right.
Oh,
Sorry
my
about
goodness.
that.
We just we have so much fun in this podcast.
Oh,
and we
we
hope you
do.
guys can also
enjoy it.
as well. If you can't eat the whole meal, how about some bites? From Bezos, Splitsville to an Apple obsession. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook, use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter, and listen on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Away, thoughtful standards for modern travel. Away makes suitcases for the way we all travel. For $20 off a suitcase, visit awaytravel.com and enter promo code CLNS. Okay, Jimmy.
I got a
lots of
few.
bites
I got
there.
a few too.
Do you want to let's flip it. We'll start with yours.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you happen to have $5.1 million hanging around, Dan?
Let me call my manager. Oh, yes, I do, but it's
course you
all in Monopoly money.
Well, guess what? That could buy you 30 seconds of commercial time on the Super Bowl.
Oh, really?
5.1 million.
Remember when it used to be just a million?
Right.
And I remember thinking,
No, I remember when it got to a million.
Oh, yes. When it got to a million, that was a
Right.
big deal. Now it's 5 point.
1 to 5.3 million.
Wow.
What's a couple of
I'm
hundred
not
thousand
really
after
sure.
you
I'm
spent
not
5
even-
minutes
you
on
know what?
one 30-second ad?
It's not
And-
worth it.
No, it is worth it.
I don't think it is.
Let me explain.
Have you ever
why.
bought anything that you saw on the Super Bowl?
100%.
What?
GoDaddy.
Yeah, no.
GoDaddy.
Yeah, you know what, though? But that came many years. GoDaddy on the Super Bowl kind of framed your eventually, you got to understand what it was. But that was, for me, it was years.
Okay, but it's a great way to launch a brand.
Yes, okay, I'll give you that.
Launching a brand.
Launching a brand that makes sense.
Doesn't make it, by the way, doesn't mean if you buy it and you have a brand and you launch it, doesn't mean it's going to be a success.
No,
because
but
there
you're
have been
right. But it
plenty
does give you
during
brand
the
awareness.
.coms. Do you remember the .coms?
Yes.
The .com era and all
Yes.
that, and it just kind of blew
But
up.
like Pepsi, for example, if I watch a Pepsi commercial, I'm not going to get in my car, race down to the store and buy Pepsi, even though I love Pepsi.
But the next time you see Pepsi in a supermarket or
Yeah, but
in a store,
yeah, but I would always do. I don't get that much Pepsi, but I would buy. I don't need a commercial. I probably have Pepsi every couple of months or so. I don't need a Super Bowl commercial to motivate me to buy a Pepsi.
Can I explain to you why it's a good ad buy?
Go ahead.
130 million people will tune in to a live broadcast of the football, the pinnacle of the NFL football season.
Yeah, but it goes viral. You know how many more people will see it?
Correct.
1 billion.
So if you go to the cost per thousand unit of viewers,
What does it break down to?
it breaks down to a couple of dollars at most. And usually anything under $7 or
Is good.
less is really good.
Well, if only I had $5 million, I'd
You could
promote
blow
our
it in 30
podcast.
You could blow it in 30 seconds.
Exactly. Gone in 30 seconds.
Yes.
$5
all
million.
right.
How'd you
Next,
like that?
Next. You
Ne-
got one.
Okay, so this is kind of interesting. This photographer has an obsession with apples. And I didn't know. I mean, I've heard of foot fetishes and all kinds of stuff, but
Right.
I've never heard of an apple obsession. And this guy, since he was in high school,
Yes.
was obsessed with apples. And so he decided to do, first of all, almost like a historical journey through apples visually. And so he puts together this a large format book of his photographs, including each apple name. Now, how many different apples, and we'll throw this out to Stephen as well, how many different apple names are out there?
Oh, hundreds. Cortland. Go ahead.
No, hundreds? That's too
100.
high.
At least 800.
800 apples?
Why
No,
not?
variety of apples.
I'm giving you hundreds of varieties.
No, because I think they're
Honey Crisp,
No, that's
Granny Smith,
I think you're talking. Those are.
Macintosh.
I think
I'm
those are
delicious.
brand. Those are brand names
No,
of
they're
apples.
type of apples.
Well,
It's a type of apple.
they're only 29.
By the way, I cannot believe we are arguing about apple names.
Here's the
And I'm
deal.
obsessed with apples. Applesteins, maybe, but not apples.
Oh, there you go.
You had to get that
very
in.
Nice.
Wait till you see the shirts we have, the A
Very
team.
nice,
Anyway,
yeah.
keep going. I'm
It's
sorry.
Jimmy.
It's a personal note.
Jimmy making a connection to family heritage. here.
Pseudo in-laws.
So, ooh,
Pseudo
somebody's gonna get in trouble.
No, I'm not.
Anyway,
They know that's how I feel.
there are
That's
there are
nothing new.
29 apples that are featured in this book, and his favorite is the Needwetskiana, a rare varietal originally from Kyrgyzstan in Central Asia. That, as he put it, is the mother of the most apples that have a pigmented flesh. So he's going to the root of the apples, and apparently they're just
it's a
like 29
tree.
of these things. Of the root, like there are all kinds of maybe offsprings,
Right.
offshoot from,
Right,
but
right.
But he researched them and he has them in a book. So there you go, an apple obsession, and we're not talking about Apple, the technology
Applestein.
apple,
Right, I'm not
or
talking about
Applestein,
or Applesteins.
No,
It's
we're
not.
talking about real apples.
Real apples.
Yes.
Okay. Instagram. We talk about eyeballs on this show. How many
Yes.
eyeballs, how many times?
That's right.
Cost per thousand eyeballs, reach, frequency, all those basic commercial media models.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram is now the go-to choice for launching new brand campaigns looking to reach the ages 13 to 34, according to
13 to 34. That's a age.
It's a big
Wow.
age group, right?
Yeah.
61% surveyed. Okay.
Wow.
And by the way, they represent $14 billion in ad spend in that demographic. That's available.
Of course, the kids aren't spending, but they're bugging their parents to spend for them.
Right. Well,
Or they're using their lawnmower money. Do kids mow lawns anymore?
No.
Bunch of lazy kids.
That's right.
They don't mow lawns.
All
Well,
right.
interesting. Okay.
So Instagram, we knew that Instagram influencers were.
Oh yeah, no,
were
Instagram.
important.
It's still hot. Instagram is still
Yes.
hot. I
Yes.
think the kids still like it.
Yes.
Okay. So Amazon. Do you know which one this one is?
I do know Amazon.
Bezos.
Yes.
Oh.
and
more.
How do you,
but wait,
by the
there's
way,
more.
No prenup.
No
I mean,
prenup.
I'm
But you have to
sorry.
understand, he started the company a year after they were married. So back then, if they probably were living in a trailer somewhere, riding around on a bicycle. Who's thinking about prenups? But anyway, all these years later,
I bet
he's
he
got,
wishes he was.
137.1 billion wishes that he had. They've broken up. He
Yep.
announced. Now, do you know what the other story is?
Well, it's a 50-50 state.
Yes, in Washington, it is a 50-50 state.
Right.
Washington State out
Yes.
there in
Yeah.
the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
But the theory is that she won't. Here's the deal. He loses if he has to cash out. He may lose controlling interest
in his company.
if he has to cash out everything. The sense is that if you're smart, you don't want that. You want to be able to get that stuff, but not have it cashed out so that it continues to grow. So from a financial standpoint and from a tax standpoint, it would seem to me that he's not going to have to give that up. He may give it up on paper, but it will not probably be cashed out. But again, we don't know. That's all guessing right now.
I don't think he's going to have to fire his babysitters.
I don't think so.
I'm just saying.
But he might. Nah, by the way, I think his kids are older. One of them is at MIT. Is that correct? And here's the thing.
I don't know who R. Kelly is, and I certainly don't know if Bezos has kids at MIT.
Well, did you hear the latest? I saw last night that apparently the reason for this divorce is that he has been secretly dating.
Of course he is.
Yes.
Of course.
The wife of a wealthy, a Hollywood super agent.
Okay.
A very
I had a feeling it had something to do with a certain body part. I'm just saying.
And
that breaks up more marriages.
Yeah, they've been flying around the world together, and apparently one of the
you can't keep anything a secret anymore.
Yeah, I know. And the Inquirer apparently had been trailing them for a while.
Of course.
Yeah, private jets,
and that's just the
hotels.
Inquirer. Just think about getting away from the paparazzi and all the normal people out there with phones.
Yes.
I mean, cameras on their
Everybody,
phones.
exactly.
You can't escape.
Right. What about just the governments that are watching you on street corners?
Right. That
like
too.
In China.
That's
they
right.
can do that.
I'm
they
sure
can. They can monitor your gait, so they could say, "Oh,
so
look,
is the media having fun with this, or are they feeling bad for the guy? Are they feeling bad for the woman?
This is still kind of fresh, so I don't know all of the reaction. I do know that the Inquirer. Someone did throw out there and say, did Donald Trump somehow have something to do with the National Enquirer, going after him, since he has always been sort of poo-pooing the Washington Post and Bezos, in some way? Because remember, until recently, there was a long marriage there between favorable treatment of Trump by the Enquirer. So,
well, after all, aliens did put him on this earth, because there's no way two human beings created
I set
this
you up
monster.
nicely for that.
Sorry.
You got anything else?
One more. Do you know IMDb?
Yes,
right.
It's
a site where you go to look up
your acting credits,
movie and TV show critics.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I'm on there. I got 2.
I know you do.
Oh,
I know,
okay.
and I know you get checks still.
Well, from the Bones, I do.
Bones.
But I'm also there for a special I did for CNN called 50 Years After Brown versus Board of Education. It was a documentary.
By
I
the
got
way,
credit for that.
Great book. I read that book when I was a kid.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I wrote it.
No, you didn't write that book.
I didn't write the book.
All right,
I didn't.
You were, no, because it was when I was a kid.
I know,
which is a lot.
But that was in my former life. I wrote.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so now they are adding a streaming content service.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
and it will be supported by commercials. And I think this is where we're going in this world with media.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to pay to opt out of commercials.
Yes.
You already have that opportunity with Netflix and a few others out there.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're going to pay to see a certain amount of commercials based on your own demographic. This is definitely going to happen.
Just show me what I want to see.
Just show me what I've been searching for.
Right.
Or well, maybe not. Show me what I've been searching for.
Or as you would say, I still haven't found what I've been searching for. Looking
that was
for.
good.
Yeah.
Now,
how'd you like that?
I know you too.
Well,
I've been to their concerts.
But see how
I'm not that unhip.
But see how widespread I know you too. I know
R. Kelly.
Whatever it is.
Do you remember the
Faith
flying?
Hill?
Do you remember the Flying Burrito Brothers?
No, but I know the Flying Walendas.
Okay, I knew them too.
Yes.
All right, that's it. I'm done.
Okay, one final one. Ice Cube. We think of him as the rapper, but he's become a media mogul, and he is vying. He has his Big 3 basketball league, and
right,
he's
that's
trying.
why I know him.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Ice Cube, he's an actor as well.
Yes, I know that too.
Yes, okay. So he's apparently has approached, in recent weeks, he has approached Viacom to team up in order to buy 22 regional Fox Sports networks. It is amazing. I've been fascinated by how back in you hear all the stories of the rappers and the other musicians and stars who burn all their money or whatever. There have been some unbelievable investments and business acumen coming out of the streets, if you will. Some of these guys who came up with nothing, made money rapping, and now are moguls. And I don't know all the history of Ice Cube, but this is amazing. And some of them have become, I think one, was it Dre, who's a billionaire?
Yes.
So at least on paper he was. So I think that's a good thing. That's cool. But anyway,
I think
he's
it's a good thing too. And I just hope that
money.
they surround themselves with smart business people and learn how to save.
Well, I think in this particular case, he is the smart business person.
Practice what I preach, not what I do.
Woo! Anyway, that has been a lot of fun, Jimmy. As always, I enjoy across from the microphone with you, with the wonder for those of you listening on the podcast. In between us is a monitor with a beautiful, nice, warm fireplace.
Yeah.
I feel the heat, even though there's no real heat. It's just visual heat.
And I don't like the Heat because they beat my Celtics last night.
Oh.
Sorry. Always ends on sports.
Very nice.
Always ends on
Thanks
sports.
for listening and enjoying this podcast along with us. We know you did because, of course, we have so much fun. Like it, share it, keep listening on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the CLNS Media Network. For our director, Steve Helmuth, I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
And now you know what's behind the media.